I was pondering the other day, I was thinking, what would happen if I allowed everything to be just as it is? Or what would happen if I allowed my thoughts to be just as they are? What would happen if I didn't label my thoughts good or bad? I just let them be just as they are. So I've been thinking about acceptance these days. I just had a birthday this week, and as I look at myself and I get myself getting older, I think, I've got to really accept this aging thing, and I have to feel my way through this thing and accept that there is a point where I will end in my life. And that's kind of an interesting thing to ponder. And I guess as we all get older, we begin to think of those thoughts, right? What is at the end of the light, at the end of the tunnel? What is there? And I think about how to mitigate suffering and how to embody the happiness that's present within my being by accepting more and allowing, acquiescing to life, allowing everything to be just as it is. And I think there's a great wisdom in letting everything be just as it is. I get cards from my friends and it says, "You're not old, you're vintage." And so I think, yes, I'm vintage. I'm getting older. I'm like cheese, where I'm flaky and maybe a little smelly and a little holy. Maybe I'm like Swiss cheese and getting older. And it's interesting to adopt an ideology where you can allow yourself to be free and to be open to getting older. And I think that's so important for our happiness, so that we can relieve our any kind of suffering, because what you resist persists, right? You've heard that line, what you resist persists. So, and I was thinking the other day where thoughts arise from. Where do they come from? Thoughts just seem to show up in the mindscape somewhere. And I noticed that when you resist life, that's where thoughts really show up. When you're resisting, when you're butting up against something, when you disagree, or when you're closed, or when your mindsets are closed, or where your beliefs are really solidified, those beliefs cause a lot of consternation, a lot of talk in the mind, a lot of noise in the mind. So I think that the less resistance you have, the fewer thoughts that arise, and the less anxiety and stress will arise as a result. So I think acceptance is really key here. And there's so many benefits to accepting, to allowing, rather than fighting with life. Some of the benefits is that you have greater relationships. You have a better time with other people because you're more at ease with yourself. You have fewer thoughts in the mind, so you have fewer negative thoughts in the mind. And that brings about the natural inclination for yourself to be happy. So I feel like I'm getting to the point where I can accept my aging gracefully. And, we have to think that aging is really a blessing, isn't it? That it is the goal. It is the wisdom that we acquire. We need to be at ease, at peace with aging. And because it's inevitable, right? We get to age. That's a really interesting thing, is it's a gift. We get to get older. And I'm coming to terms with that myself. So that's why I'm talking about it today, since I just had a birthday, feeling the awareness of what it's like to get older. And all the things, adopting the wrinkles and the way you look. And of course, other factors come in too, like ego. You start to think of your self-image. You think about vulnerability. You think about authenticity. At least I do anyway, as a meditation guy, as a mindfulness guy. And the word mindfulness, its acceptance is built right into the definition of mindfulness, the Buddhist philosophy. About bringing one's awareness to the present moment experience without judgment. And that's the key, as I was mentioning earlier, about noticing the kinds of thoughts you have and realizing that you don't have to label them good or bad. They just are. And that's a really good practice throughout this week. Without labeling your thoughts, just accept them for what they are. And either good or bad, They're just thoughts. The mindfulness definition is bringing ourselves to the present moment experience on a moment-to-moment basis without judgment, accepting life the way you feel, the way you think, the way you are, just as you are. And there's a great compassion in that, isn't there? Compassion towards yourself, acceptance towards yourself. And I like the metta meditation, which we'll do at the end of this meditation, about may I live a life of self-acceptance and self-compassion. That's a really good one to really ponder on. And as you get older and as you face yourself and as you look at yourself and the impermanent aspect of yourself, you can have great care and compassion for yourself and self-acceptance for yourself.